Welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire.
Hello. Thank you for joining us here at Lead Live. If you experience a little hesitancy on my part, it's because I had one of these mornings where there were multiple needs, demands, and like you, I showed up, and hopefully, like many of you, if not all of you, I took care of everything. And yet sometimes it seems a little bit daunting. However, always I know that I am never given more than I can handle, manage, even if it feels like an insurmountable challenge. There's a reason why I experience challenges in my life. They're for a reason. And I don't always know. And in fact, there's some challenges I've experienced in my life, I still don't even know why. Yet, I got to tell you something. The challenges that I even remember now that were so remarkable, I've leveraged them. And hopefully, like all of you, we're always leveraging those challenges to build an even more solid foundation from which we launch in order to build what we want to build. Today, Lead Live episode is titled Budgeting for Success. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. I initially was talking with my lead behind the scenes, Jet, who's a remarkable young man. And it was about highlighting one person. And it wasn't me. Because of, I believe, you tune in to hear stories of other people. You tune in to be inspired. You tune in to be able to walk away with tools that you can use right away. And that's what we're about. We're about encouraging you to be the CEOs of your own lives. Why? Because you can. Because magic happens there. It happens every moment. You decide. You decide. You choose. You act. You feel with increasingly greater desire to pursue a dream. And what we know from every accomplishment, from the folks who came up with the idea of a microphone, an extraordinary computer, lighting, formalizing, cultivating, just nature itself, placing a seed and understanding the importance of nutrition for that seed. So that seed in its own season would grow and manifest that extraordinary flower that we find so endearing, manifests the food that we demand, that we require, manifests the nutrients that other life forms leverage, that ultimately cultivates the soil even more for all of us. I know, I'm talking a little bit abstract right now, but really intentionally about the power of each one of us to dream big. And so it hit me. My story is worth sharing. And yes, I've shared it before, and some of you know that story. I don't know how much you know. And I want you to know that I've always dreamed, and I remember being that 7-year-old who had just been beaten. And I remember, and no one was around to witness it. I was around to experience it. And it was like my spirit left my body, and I looked at that child and declared to that child as the child herself and said, this is just temporary. This is not your trajectory. This is not a reflection of the essence of who you are. And in fact, you were named Elnora. Reason I didn't even know what Elnora meant. And I didn't use that name. I used my middle name Tina, which was spelled differently because most people couldn't pronounce Elnora. They would pronounce it all kinds of ways. And I said, well, maybe it's not for a purpose. Now, let me tell you, it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I learned what Elnora meant by the person who named me. It's a whole nother story. And I want to honor her. She's one of my birth mother's sisters, Shirley, and she's out in the spirit world. And I wish her well. I'll never forget having the opportunity to speak with her. And she called me out of the blue. And it was just months before she died. I didn't even know she was transitioning. She wanted to honor the essence of me, not the assumptions about me, the essence of me. So let me go back to that 7-year-old. And the 7-year-old out-of-body experience looking at that child, wounded physically, but emotionally strong in ways that didn't even make sense, except when you understood the power of the internal voice, that intuition. It really comes from the source itself, the great spirit, God, all life, the universe, multiple. Basically reminding me that I wasn't my conditions and that the physical body I was in was a temporary temple. And so it was more than just kind of get over it. It was not get over it. It was walk through it. There's a reason for this. Even though as a child I didn't know, so I did what most children would do. I watched the adults around me. I learned their behavior, and then I tried to become invisible, as dark as I am, beautifully dark as I am. I thought I was invisible. You can't hurt me. You can't. What's the real story here? In that instance, I remembered. It's like I remembered part of the reason why I was supposed to be here. And later on, I learned my name stands for the light, Elnora. I had no clue. And yet, as that 7-year-old, I felt like my life was to aspire to inspire. Can you imagine that? I experienced my life being about aspiring to inspire. Who in the heck did I think I was? No, the real question is, who did I know myself to be? Wasn't just being born to a 13-year-old who had been abused throughout her childhood. It wasn't just being in an environment where I didn't belong or I wasn't valued and considered a throwaway kid. It wasn't about that. It was about something that's fundamentally more profound. And when we each, independent of who we are and where we're at, or because of who we are and where we're at, when we go inside and literally experience the essence of who we are, which is absolutely magical and powerful, we get to remember why we came here in the first place. And so that 7-year-old believed she was about that me, that little child in me, that was me, that is still part of me, some of the best part of me. Remember that she was here to aspire in order to inspire. Now, did I understood what that meant? I had no clue. Yet I understood why years later I was either 11, I think I was 11, it was before the particular foster home I was in, the foster mother died, so I might have been 11 or 12. I remember being in a church we were required to go to. It wasn't a choice. And there was part of me that wanted to be a choice because we were required to be there. Now, I was in the choir. I don't know if all my brothers were choir at the time. I was in the choir. And then just as they were doing testimonials, as the Baptist church does, and people get up, and I'm an introvert, extraordinary introvert, and something happens, and my body stands up, and my mouth opens, and I start talking. I have no clue what the heck I'm doing, why I'm up, why I'm talking, and the room goes quiet. I think one of my brothers remembers that day to this day. I got up and I spoke. I declared that when I'm older, I'm going to tell everyone, and I'm going to tell as many people across this globe, in this universe, that God is, the great spirit is, the universal being of unconditional love does exist. And after I said what I said, my piece, I sat down. I said more. I sat down in disbelief and complete fright. Think of an introvert doing that in a huge church where everyone is singing, gorgeous singing, crazy singing, and they're dancing and I did that, brought everything to a calm. I had no clue consciously what I was doing. And yet at the heartfelt, emotional level, I was grounded. It was the most embarrassing experience I had to date, even with all the beatings and other nonsense. It was the most embarrassing. And yet, in that instance, I realized my life trajectory was exactly what that 7-year-old imagined. And it was more than just, and yet it was inclusive of anything you could imagine in terms of growth and development. And so I continued to go on from foster home to foster home. And I would remember moving from one community part of a particular county to another, Los Angeles County. And so now I'm in East LA. And I remember being at a high school. Folks didn't know me. And so in order to ensure they didn't get to know me, I acted like I was an extrovert, had no clue what I was doing. I got in the drama club, I got in a mom dance group. We were on television for a spell. It was quite remarkable, one event. I did a variety of things so that no one would ask me who I was or what my family entailed, where I lived, or anything, where I worked. And I heard some folks behind me as I'm sitting at a table outside. I think it was doing a lunch hour or whatever hour it was at high school, Nogales High School in La Puente, California. And I hear some folks behind me. And they say, oh, yeah, if you go to college, you go to university, there's housing and blah, blah, blah. I have no idea whatever else they were talking about because it was a serious conversation. I wasn't a part of it. And yet I heard that and I realized, I need housing. I don't want to be homeless again. So I'm going to college. I had no clue what that meant. And luckily there was a she was at a foster child in that home. She was a daughter of the parents in that home. She helped me some fundamental things. So thanks, kudos to her. Before she even helped me, I picked myself up and I walked over to the vice president's office or vice principal's office, excuse me, of that high school. And I said to him, I said, I need to be in college prep courses. This guy had no clue what I was talking about. He just looked at me and smiled and sent out a joke and said, well, McDonald's is down the street. What he didn't know was that I was already working at McDonald's. And I stood there initially, and then I sat down thinking, what does McDonald's have to do with me getting housing? This was all in my head. I didn't tell him why I wanted to be in college prep courses. I didn't even know what college prep courses was, folks. I asked to do that because I wanted to get housing so I wouldn't be homeless again. What a concept. The power of it was something much more profound than just that messaging and just my sitting there waiting for him to change the courses I was in into college prep. Again, I didn't know consciously what I was asking for, but I was inspired by a dream that was bigger than just my consciousness. It was to aspire to inspire. And then it was to tell the entire universe of something that I understood to be true at my core. And so I couldn't do it being homeless. I didn't even understand what I was going to do in college. I didn't think I was sufficiently literate in a number of key areas, except for math, to even be worthy of going to college. So the guy looked at me, realizing I wasn't going to waver and move. I don't know how long I sat in that chair. Seemed like an eternity. It might have only been 20 minutes or 30 minutes. He changed my courses to college prep. Luckily, my course record had not come from the previous school because as a kid, I was diagnosed as mentally retarded. Well, interesting enough, fast forward, where am I? Years later, I'm in 2 PhD programs at University of California at Berkeley, one of the top public institutions on the planet. So clearly, the assumptions about me, the testing of me, I rose to the level of expectations, arguably, and people as they say, appropriately diagnosed me. So once I decided I was going to college, guess what? I rose to the level of those expectations. I got into that institution. In this instance, it was the University of California, Riverside. And I got to tell you, that experience was profound. All of my experience to that date were profound, the most devastating and the most remarkable in positive ways. The key thing is I made a decision. I had a desire. That desire over years became a burning desire for something that I had yet to experience. I took that desire and I asked questions. I didn't waver. And that wasn't the first time I didn't waver. When I was in high school and the vice principal basically said McDonald's is down the street. It was supposed to be a joke. It was supposed to be a negation of me because it wasn't about me. It wasn't relevant. I treated the way I treated all the other experiences prior to that. Unless it fit with my paradigm, my self-image, my mindset, I didn't allow it to enter. So the question I have for you, do you let things enter your mindset, your whole way of being that drive you to be the person you are right now? It may be out of alignment with your capacity, your real true capacity. Now, let me be very clear. I've not achieved my full capacity. But what I've done, however, is I've exceeded even my initial expectations because my vision continues to be grand. And so I thought, okay, well, I learned that I don't have to just survive in the university. I learned that I can design my life to thrive. I want other people to experience that. Thus, my trajectory as an educator for nearly 40 years. And actually, now, almost 45 years, I'm still an educator, yet in financial services. But let's not get too ahead of myself. So initially was in higher education. I wanted young people, I wanted older folks, including folks older than me, to know that you spend the time learning about the nature of the human being, the body, the mind, us in context with others. So, psychology, sociology, respectfully, us in terms of how the organs function and interrelate, and the fact that we're a total system, but not an isolated system. We're a system that needs all the other systems that make up life itself. So, we learn about the environment, we learn about history, we learn about climate, we learn about, oh my goodness, we learn about what? We learn about the nature of the systems that we've created as humans, the economic system, the political systems. I can go on and on. So many different disciplines. And the more I learned, the more I was inspired to learn. And I was inspired to not only learn, but perform well so I wouldn't be able to say I was pushed out because I needed the housing. And long before I got to the place where I thought I was sufficiently competent to complete my studies, I didn't have to stay at that university. But luckily, I didn't understand that. I was working full time, graveyard. And I could now pay for my own place. The power of being focused, so focused, singularly. And what do we call focus? Fixed, ongoing concentration, unlimited success. What else do we call focus? Follow one course until successful. I love that. I love both of those sayings. Many people have said those provided those quotes. I've found documentation for over hundreds of years. We understand that focus is remarkable. It does require literally being clear, deciding, unwavering. Oh my goodness. It requires taking action. It requires coming from some place of truth that ideally is part of your unwavering passion for something bigger than you, bigger than all of us. Okay, let me get back to my story. I can go on, or you're telling. So I focused. And what did what did I do as part of aspiring in order to be an inspiration? When I left the university, and I can tell you about some fascinating stories while I was there, but that's too much. And another time, maybe. When I left there, I decided I'm going to stay in higher education. I'm going to encourage individuals, even if it's just touch the lives of maybe a few thousand people in my career. I'll feel like my life has been invaluable, touching them in a way where they too understood they could dream it. They could dream it, and they could dream it in such a way to take action and achieve whatever they dreamed. And so I was on a campaign. And fast forward 38 years later, I look back at my career years ago and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I ran the numbers. I affected the lives of over 100,000 individuals in concert with, in partnership with, in sync with, oh my God, thousands of professionals, brilliant men and women, people who cared deeply. Yeah, there were some who were nonsensical, not very well emotionally. They brought that stuff to work too. But overall, these folks were passionate about making a difference. And together, there are so many stories I'm able to reflect on. And I'm humbled, literally, almost monthly, literally monthly, in some months every week, with individuals contacting me and saying, Tina, they remembered me as Tina, or Dr. Webb, or Elnora, saying, my goodness, this is what I'm doing now with my wife, who you also affected. And now we have children, and now fill in the blank. It's amazing. And these folks, I went back to where I grew up, different parts of the county of LA. I went beyond that, different parts of the state of California. I went beyond that, beyond the state of California. I went beyond that internationally to say to young people, to say to people my age and older, you too can dream big. You have the right to invest in you. You are powerful beyond measure when you opt to be the CEO of your life. If someone told that 7-year-old that I'd have the capacity to work with so many remarkable people and affect the lives of over 100,000 people in 38 years, I'd say, interesting. Well, let me just focus where I'm at. Let me just get through this. Get to where you're at. Let me tell you, as someone could have told that 7-year-old. It could have. You too, wherever you're at, whether you are 12 years old watching this, and I am so honored that you choose to do that, or you're 50 years old and you've lived an incredible life of giving, and yet you're concerned because there's a big gap between what you've given and what you want. You've given a lot, and now the universe is ready to give to you, but you have to be clear about what it is that you want and allow yourself to take that leap and go for it. Or perhaps you're 85 years old and you're looking back and you're so appreciative that you've had a family, you've got children, grandchildren, or nieces, nephews, or just loved ones, good friends. Or you're 95 years old and you're watching as your contemporaries transition, pass, and you're dreaming about what you did together. You're honoring that, and you're saying, there's got to be more. Yes. There's more when you decide there's more. For all of us, because of and independent of, and then you fill in the blank, there's more. So I can tell you about my dreaming flying, taking off, and experiencing different vista points. Well, not only did I do that literally in my dreams, I did it physically. I've been different places on the planet. I've not been to all the continents, yet given the opportunity, and I'm looking to seize the opportunity, I will be I will have the experience to go to all continents of this planet and ideally beyond, as a few of us have gone beyond the planet. I've imagined being transported to environments where there's so much that's not familiar, and yet it resonates. I remember being in China in a particular province and watching people climb a mountain that they go up every day after coming down every day, or at least every week, and live in these small, we call caves, they call homes. These brilliant, beautiful people, oh my goodness, to see their humbleness and their greatness at the same time, or to be in Chiapas, Mexico, and witness the way people are dancing in the street and they're smiling, even given the distressing circumstance they've experienced over years. They not only have hope, they demonstrate it with what they do in support of family, friends, etc. Oh my God. I'll never forget my first experience in Paris and going to the outskirts. Yes, I was in Paris, but I went to the outskirts. I went to the countryside. I went to where a lot of the folks really reside, not just where we go visit and get to see the Alpha Tower, go to the Louvre, etc. Did that. That was interesting and fun and illuminating. But what was more powerful was to witness people and how they traverse, how they interact, how they leverage, how they even dismiss others and be humble and want to run back here and say, oh my God, I'll kiss the ground. Yes, we have some issues here in this country. Yes, we have some issues in the state that I'm in and in the city that I'm in. But my goodness, dark you people are not beating down as extremely as we've historically been when you compare us to our fellow dark you people in other places. Whatever I experience, good, bad, or indifferent, and I've experienced good in all those places and challenges in all those places, I come back knowing that the essence of who we are as humans, the essence is the same. It's the same. We have hopes. If we allow ourselves, we dream. And more powerfully, if we allow ourselves, we take action after deciding that we're going to pursue that dream. And then we leverage. We leverage others with the expertise. And even if we don't know that we're going to be successful, we work earnestly and stick to it, we achieve it. I want to jump ahead and say something. When you think about budgeting for success, which is a theme for our month, and budgeting definitely is related to our money, our finances. And yet it is bigger than that. It's about our goals, our dreams, our vision for our life. It's about the bigger picture. As a child, what did you experience? As a teenager, what did you experience? As a young adult, what are you experiencing? As an older adult, what are you experiencing? As an elder, what are you experiencing? It's sufficient, gives you the kind of peace of mind. Yes, it may be challenging and you may be working your butt off. Do you get to smile? Because you know you're on the trajectory to the level of success you seek to achieve. I shared in a social media post, thanks to my team, both Jet and Trisha, that last year I got to really experience individuals who chose to dream big, and they're not done with their dream. They only achieve actual significant milestones from our perspective. They're not where they're going to be ultimately, given the opportunity of this life, in this life, and of this life. And yet they have done some remarkable things in support of people. And they live the adage of you do for others and you do it with an unwavering commitment to be respectful, to really be authentic and to function with integrity. And the universe pays you back in absolute it's like a boomerang. It pays you back over and over and over again. And they're reaping the benefits. Quite frankly, my life is a reflection of that. I didn't intend to do good because I wanted to get something in return. I intended to do good because I believed that that was my life trajectory, my responsibility. In the meantime, I've learned to be completely selfish. Yeah, selfish. So, what do I mean by selfish? To literally do what edifies my spirit. And what edifies my spirit is to give unconditionally all the time. The difference now, rather than giving to at my expense, I'm giving in a way that honors me. You hear what I'm saying? Before I was working 24/7 and I didn't care what the request was, it was always a yes because I didn't know how to say no. And if I said no, it harmed me. It was not even about the other person, it harmed me. So I found a way to say yes. Then I began to mature and realize I don't have to say yes all the time. I could find a way to have other people say yes. So guide people to the solutions they need, or even have them say yes to themselves more significantly. Now it's about a balance. And you think as a Libra, I'd have a clue. And most of my life was definitely out of balance. It's give, give, give. People try to give to me. Oh, I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. No. And yet I wanted it and I did need it. Now I'm open to receiving. And it's the most uncomfortable thing. And for those of you like me who are naturally introvert and naturally givers, don't know how to receive, you get me. I want to encourage all of you, balance, give. Well, last year I experienced these remarkable people. All of them are, without exception, multimillionaires. It's not about them being multimillionaires. That status is a reflection of them giving remarkably. You give in a way where you provide a massive solution like Zoom, like StreamYard that we're using right now, and all of a sudden the wealth comes to you. You're like, oh my God, I had no idea that, you know, certainly I want to be able to buy a house. I want to be able to, do landscape as someone who I'll mention in a second who was talking about this morning. I want to be able to do things for my family. I want to build my family. I want to be able to travel. Yeah, 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 yeah. But wow, oh my God, the massive fortunes. That's what we're talking about here at Lead Live. And LEAD, remember, stands for Leadership Excellence and Achievement on Demand. When you decide now, and you literally are clear now, you create that path forward. You act and you're unwavering in your commitment. You leverage, 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 and you, before you know it, you achieve. And you not only achieve that milestone, you do like I did. I became a college president. I didn't set out to be a president. I didn't set out to be a vice president, which I was, or a dean, which I was, or a coordinator or manager, or work at these different places. I did all those things because the dream was built enough, big enough to incorporate all that. Well, my dream, aspire to inspire, at 7-year-old, oh my goodness, I am so appreciative of you. I honor you, the small, that me that chose to continue to get up, even when beaten down, literally and figuratively, to get up and keep moving, to leverage those experiences as the precondition to actually plow forward. Wow. There's so many stories I'm not telling you in between, folks. Just like me, you have stories. And many of us don't know your stories. We encourage you to leverage your stories. Determine how you can build on it to actually manifest more of your inherent greatness. Follow one course until successful. Fixed ongoing concentration, unlimited success. Focus. Dream it, achieve it. This is not even the tip of the iceberg of some people who are noted for stating that, right? Zig Ziglar. People know him as the American author, remarkable salesperson, exceptional motivational speaker. He said the same thing. He says, "You dream it, then you can achieve it." Walt Disney said the same thing. If you can dream it, you can do it. And all our dreams come true if we have the courage to pursue them. What did Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich, and independent of what people think about him as an individual, that book has made more millionaires than any other book that's on the planet, as we know in recorded history. Maybe something that we don't know. He wrote, anything that your mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. Now, he wasn't the first one to say that. Others have said that. Okay. Adrienne Thompson, she's a best-selling author, a young lady. She says, if you can dream it, believe it, and are willing to put the work for it, then you can achieve it. She was married at 16, had 2 kids at 17. Now she's retired from as a registered nurse and doing remarkable things to inspire even other folks. William Ward, another motivational speaker, writer actually in his day, of poetry and others. He said, if you can imagine it, you can achieve it. If you can dream it, you can become it. When was he born? In 1921. Maya Angelou, who so many of us value for good reasons. I think all of us, if we had a chance to get to know the essence of that brilliant spirit, we understand the power of our respective spirits and much more. And that's why I'm illuminating some of these individuals. What does she say? She says, if you are always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. I have to say that again. If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. See, she was harmed and she was normalized and she was negated, and she chose to rise, to rise, to rise. And she reminded us, and even though she learned a lot, she still had a lot to learn, even as she was transitioning out of this life, physically, that is. And she says all great achievements require time. And she learned that you shouldn't go through life with a catcher's mitt on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back. What is that whole notion we talked about earlier? That is giving, receiving. As we receive, we need to be able to give back. And when we're thinking big and giving big, oh my goodness. And what did Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the remarkable Supreme Justice, say? So often in life, things that you regard as an impediment turns out to be great good fortune. I heard that? So often in life, things that you regard as an impediment turn out to be great good fortune. Michael Jordan. What did Michael Jordan, the remarkable basketball player, tell us? Some people want it to happen. Some wish it would happen. I'd say a lot of people wish a lot of things happen. Others make it happen. We expect you to make what you want to happen. You have the capacity. And if you didn't have the capacity, you wouldn't be given that option to dream and to dream big. Remember that. Nelson Mandela, what did he say? Tell us. It's always seem impossible until it's done. Walt Disney, excuse me. What did he tell us? Our dreams can become true if we have the courage to pursue them. I want to read something, not all of it. I want to illuminate someone. And I've asked him for permission to put this in writing, but I want you to know that even though I've yet to confirm the details of what I'll put in writing, I want you to know I know this gentleman. He's 39 years old. His wife is 30. And fast forward to where they're at now. They built a company that nets over $120 million a year. They have in excess of 100,000 individuals that they've touched through their organization. They have approximately 7,000 of us who are working with them. He was born in a community where folks were not supposed to dream big and certainly not supposed to achieve big. Not only did he dream big, he achieved big. He initially dreamed big of what? Of becoming that star football, professional football, elite professional football player. And so he worked very hard, tirelessly. And for those of you who are in sport, you understand that it's not about just dreaming it. It's about taking action, deliberate action, consistent action. I'm thinking about people like Pele, who was at the top of his game, and he was still working very, 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 very hard, even after he retired. This gentleman did the same thing. And so he was a star athlete, Division I school in football. And what happened? That particular dream that he had to become an elite professional NFL player was crushed because a part of his body was harmed. Here's the good news. When you are dreaming big, it's highly unlikely that your dream will be deterred. He expected to be a champion, and so he couldn't be a champion there. What did he choose to do? He moved. He saw an opportunity to be a champion of families, of individuals, and even of small and large businesses. And so what did he do? He pursued that champion spirit with unwavering commitment, even though people told him, no, you're going to leave that $28,000 or $30,000 a year job for something that's uncertain? Man, you've lost your mind. And it was worse. I won't even go into that. A young man at 21 stayed steadfast. He did not waver. And before he was 25, he was a millionaire. All he was trying to do was be successful at some level. And then he realized he could become that was it. And then all of a sudden he realized, oh, wait, is that it? No, there's got to be more. I got to help more families, more individuals, more business leaders. And then because of his powerful wiring, his mindset, his predisposition to be a champion, initially it was all about him and a team. Then it became about the greater good, the greatest good, in building his team, massive team, to help even more people, not just locally in a town, but across the US, beyond the US. Oh my goodness. So he attracted his best friend, a remarkable young lady, that she's only 34. Together, prior to him becoming 39, he'll be 40 soon, and her becoming 34, they built what they built. And they were unwavering in their focus. They dreamed. Their dream is bigger than what they've accomplished. And those of us who know them know they're going to exceed even the dream that they have, which is massive. So what's stopping anyone from doing that? A young man, a shy young man, albeit 6'5" young man, extremely shy. I can relate to that. Extremely introverted. Goes from being insular, beating up guys on the field, having remarkable performance, to going into a completely different industry and just knocking it out the park. He's on Forbes magazine. He's on on the front of a lot of financial magazines long before he became 34. Why? Because he did what we all have the capacity to do: dream. Allow that dream to not be deterred. It was about being a champion. He is a champion, folks. He was a champion long before he and his wife achieved what they achieved. He was a champion long before he even attracted his best friend. He was a champion before they built this family they have. That's a remarkable family. He was a champion long before he met his current mentors. One a billionaire, one the other almost a billionaire. And then a third multimillionaire. He was a champion in his mind. The champions, whether they're the she's, The he's, the they's, the champions are not champions because we tell them they're champions. Champions are champions because they have something that is resonating at the molecular level of their body that actually extends beyond their physical body, and it drives them. There's something that's driving all of us, and we become our habits. So if we're not following that drive, we're sleeping a little bit longer. We're not exercising or moving around as much. We're sitting down just watching something, being entertained by something, whatever it is. And before we know it, that drive that we had once had it seems like it's burning thin. It was an extraordinary flame. I mean, it was illuminating, and people were like, oh my God, there's the light, there's the light, there's the light. Oh my God, look at that child, look at that. And then all of a sudden you heard enough no's, you heard enough maybes, you heard enough go away, you heard enough. And all of a sudden, all those hours, the pains, etc., the light, that flame has dimmed. And we're here to say, go back, blow on it. Let it illuminate. And more importantly, decide, even if that old dream is no longer applicable, what's the dream that actually would fulfill you now? It's not about age, folks. It's not about gender. It's not about size. It's not about history. It's about now. Imagine the future being a direct reflection of what you're thinking about, feeling, acting on now. That's the power of now. The future is always a manifestation of the moment that we're in now. So don't even separate tomorrow or 10 years from now. Assume it coexists. Those of us who believe in the interrelatedness of time, we understand that time is a human construct. We need it for some reason. So think in terms of the future coexisting now. What do you want to experience now? And then as you think about that, think about budgeting for success. Think about what that goal looks like, whatever it looks like. What's the cost to get there in monetary terms? You may not know that. So you be clear about what it is, and then you welcome into your space those with the expertise to help you come up with a specific plan. And when I say welcome, I mean that literally. I don't mean you got to go look up and find everything on your own. Yeah, that's part of it. You do your own research, but you're open to it. It's amazing. And think about how incredible it is. You think about a friend, and 10 minutes later, that friend is calling you. You're like, oh my God. Well, that's the nature of our capacity, right? In the same way, you think a thing, you draw that thing to you. That thing is literally, it doesn't matter if it's an imagining coming from someplace in the spirit, within the body, outside the body. It is a decision, it's a action, it is a result. All reflect some level of vibration that's out there in the universe, and we get the feedback. So dream it. Be clear about what that dream is. You can do what a lot of people say, come up with a goal, come up with a plan. You figure out that it's going to be different for different people. Be open to receiving the expertise that will help you achieve it. So we always like to ask you here, especially when a remarkable person is on here with me monthly, Dr. Quinde, and that is, what's your financial independence number? And the first time I was asked that, I was like, huh? Excuse me? I wasn't asked financial independence number. I was asked FIN. What's your FIN number? And so, of course, I've learned it's about starting and always starting with your goals and then systematically going from there. So we help you figure out your FIN number. Why is that important? That's critical to budgeting for success. What else is critical? Is determining what is happening with your money now? Not tomorrow, not next year, not yesterday. What are you doing with your money now? It doesn't really matter how much it is or because of what it is. And where are you placing your money? Whether in expenditures, where you're placing your savings, where are you placing it? And then we want you to understand what you have at the end of every day and how you could shift those numbers if you so desire. How you can have your money work harder for you than you work for your money. I know some of you have heard that, but it's real. And there are instruments available that wealthy, the folks with a lot of financial riches use day in and day out all day long. They take it for granted that that's what they do. Most of us have no clue what those things are, and yet they're codified in the IRS code, accessible to all of us in the United States. And in other countries, there are different tools also available. We don't know. And that's why financial literacy is so essential. We don't know what we don't know until and unless we give ourselves the opportunity to learn from those who know. So when I say be open to leveraging, be open, whether it's our organization where you contact us, or whether it's another organization that you're familiar with, you leverage. You want to walk away knowing your financial independence number. And thank you, Timo. What a powerful story of a former football player. Absolutely. And the story is just beginning. We'll share more. And let me tell you something. When you know your FIN number, when you know what's happening with your money now, all of a sudden your intelligence, your financial intelligence just skyrockets. You're like, how's that possible? You got to go through the experience, folks. The next thing is to decide what habits you want to implement that will get you to the next phase. What habits do you want to implement that will get you to the next phase? The next phase of what? Well, you have a dream. There are steps to get there. If it's a big dream, if it's a dream worthy of you, it's not something you've achieved before. If you've achieved it before, it's not a dream. If it's about buying a car, okay, well, maybe if you've never bought a car before, that's a dream. But is it really big? Because you know how to do that. You can go to someone with the expertise down the street or within the community to figure out how to drive. We want you to think big, especially big in a way where it serves others. Because you dream big, you help others in profound ways. The gift to you is, oh my God, it's amazing. Now, I was listening earlier to someone who's a quite remarkable individual too. And I've yet to meet him, and yet I've listened to a number of his presentations live, etc. His name is Rich Tholley. And this gentleman, along with his colleagues, built an amazing organization. I'm a part of that organization. My team's a part of that organization. And what he talked about was the powerful aspect of his dream and how he dreamed. And that dream, literally, it required a lot of work. It was tough going for him and his wife. And luckily, they chose each other. And they're so in sync. Yeah, they're different people, but sufficiently in sync in honoring the other that they were unwavering in support of each other to ensure the dream was actualized. He didn't quit. He remained steadfast. And what did he do? He built something that he knew that was about helping people, helping families financially. He built something that was about providing quality opportunity to professionals and to those families, owners of businesses, individuals looking to build families. Built something that literally was just a dream. He had a clue. He'd gone to college. He actually worked at a university, earning a decent wage at the time, less than 30,000, but years ago, that wasn't bad. But it wasn't enough. He couldn't build what he wanted to build with his family, and he had to do something to bring in more resources. Then he began to look at the lay of the land in financial services and realize the common folks are not being addressed. And I'm talking about all common folks. And yes, some of you are earning over $300,000 a year. And yes, you're among those common folks, meaning that you're not able to be able to do all you want. You're working full time, you're working around the clock, and your beautiful family is wondering when they're going to see you. That's what we're talking about. When we talk about wealth, we're talking about people who have a lot of discretionary time. They can do what they want to do, and they get to give in philanthropic ways. Well, this guy, with his team, with his partners, built something that has now helped millions of families. It's quite incredible. And so the billions that the organization has earned is not that big of a deal, right? He's earned. It just comes. So whether it's about ultimately budgeting in a way where you end up with a lot of financial success, or budgeting in a way where you are able to do things that you're not able to do right now, it's always about budgeting for success so that you are able to take your dream and actualize it. And many people have done it. And he, like a lot of us, this gentleman I just referenced, who's a billionaire with his wife, he did it coming from humble beginnings. He didn't come from wealth, just like the other story I gave earlier. Didn't come from wealth, just like me, my story. Didn't come from wealth. Wealth can come from us. And when we say wealth, we say the fundamental 5 F's: faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. When you have all 5 of those, you truly are experiencing wealth. If you have money alone, well, we know a lot of folks who have a lot of money, brilliant people, accomplished a lot, given a lot, and yet they're some of the most unhappy people on the planet. Yes, I know. It's hard to believe for some people. And yet, we always want you to know that whether your faith is, it doesn't really matter what your faith is. And yet, it does matter what your faith is. It matters that you have faith. It's not about whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Taoist, whether you believe in you're Jewish, you're Hindu, you're Buddhist, or the many religions across this beautiful globe. It's about having faith, and faith that is so profound that arguably it supersedes any religion. It's a faith that embeds in it core values that you live by. I remember years ago someone saying to me, and I couldn't appreciate it at the time. Oh my God, you must be very religious. And da, 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 da. I'm thinking, oh no, I'm not religious at all. Oh, you must go to church all the time. I said, no. And before I could say I don't go because people drink, and they do perfume, and I'm allergic to perfume. And she says, "What? You don't go to church? Then you're damned to hell." And da 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 da. I'm like, okay, bless you. And I just was quiet, finished whatever the transactions were, and left. The powerful thing that she got, that I learned from, and I honor her for honoring me, even though she needed to negate me because wasn't doing what she was doing, is that she saw my behavior and my faith, even though it didn't come in the trappings she expected. So when you have faith, people feel it, they experience it, they know you even before they know you. So understand who you are. Your faith allow you to dream big, folks. The family that you build, whether it's the one you're born into or the one you build, will give you the edification you require to sustain you, even if it's a family of one, yourself. Wow. The financial picture that you craft for yourself, and you allow us or others that with expertise to help you build it, where your money is working harder for you than you are, so that you can do what we're helping families do for their children. I got to give this one example. And then we're going to close this out today, just for today. And that is, we're telling families about a particular policy where they literally can invest in their child and devote no more than $28,000 a year as an example. Excuse me, $28,000 in total. The child may be 13, 14, or 15 years old, and that's the maximum amount that's put into that account. Child's now 50, 55, 60, and what's in that account, because of the power of compounding, the right kind of account, is over $1 million. And the parents, without exception, are like, what? That's what we're talking about, folks. When you budget for success, you're leveraging folks like us to help you get there. When you dream big about the bigger picture you want to experience in your life, independent of your age or because of your age, and you allow for yourself to leverage, when you dream big, you allow yourself to leverage, you can achieve it. You don't have to be 21 years old and then be able to experience it when you're 39. You can be in your 50s. You can be in your 70s. Heck, I know a lot of folks who are more successful in their 70s than they were prior. Why? You could argue, and they do say, that it's because they decided to dream big. They took off all the shackles of socialized expectations, of fears of other people had for them. It wasn't the fears for that person, it was their own internal fear. They took those things off, and all of a sudden, they allowed themselves to take off. I'm honored that we have this platform. So I'm thankful to the creators of StreamYard. I'm thankful to my team, all of them, here and the others. I'm thankful to everyone I'm able to leverage. Those I meet, those I may never meet. I'm so deeply appreciative of the Great Spirit for giving us the opportunity to continue to aspire in order to inspire. May you leverage this, walk away with something that you can use immediately in order to live being the chief executive officer of your life. We all benefit from you doing that. Why don't? And Jet, if you will put up, and we'd like for people to share this. If you find this helpful, we'd like for you to click like. We're looking to leverage the algorithms with social media. So more folks beyond those who are already leveraging us through what's YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Amazon TV, Roku TV, you leverage us in the way that you choose. We look forward to seeing you. We're here every Wednesday, noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, wherever you're at on the globe, at different times, we just appreciate you. Why don't?